What's your motive in coming here today? We hear a lot about motivation in language learning, but it's not the same thing. If you say she had the motivation, you might be talking about a language learner, a real go-getter, someone who's got the drive to do something. But if you say she had the motive, you might be talking about a femme fatale, like Phyllis Dietrichson in Double Indemnity. She had a reason for doing wrong, a cause, a motive. Why am I talking about motives? Motive is a word that slips around a lot, is on the move or mobile between the languages I've learned and am learning. In English, it can mean simply the reason behind doing something. This is my motive in speaking to you. Or specifically the reason for committing a crime. And vocab related to law in different languages, and thus also, for instance, to crime fiction, is often slightly different from the words we use in ordinary conversation. Motive is a word that begs for false friendship in some European languages because of lookalikes, equally sound-alikes. Please comment to tell me which other words you've noticed this happening with. Let's start with Irish. If you're learning Irish and you're talking about the motive for a crime, don't be tempted to reach for the word motif. Looks and sounds very similar, but it means motif, as in the English word motif. English took this from French. It has a distinct F sound at the end, not like motive with a voiced sound, and the stress on the second syllable, whereas motive, the reason for doing something, the cause for the crime, of course stresses the first syllable. So you'd want to keep away from the Irish word motif, unless you mean a motif, a dominant or recurring pattern, same as we would say in English. If you're talking crime or crime fiction, instead you need a word that's related to the word cause, which is bunchush, derived from the word kush, meaning cause. Bonchush is the root cause, with that first syllable bon, meaning the basis or the bottom or the fundamental part. It's the root cause for committing a crime, as you might find in an Irish crime novel. Urgel Curachta. Tell me below if you've read any good Irish crime novels, whether in English or in the Irish language. I'd love to hear about them. In German, if you want motive, you can use das Motiv. Das Motiv. On the one hand, it's simpler for an English speaker because it's both motive and motif. But Achtung, because it's spelled with a V on the end, yet sounded like an F, and with the stress on the second syllable. Das Motiv der Tat, the motive for the deed. You might think of the German TV show, a crime show, Tatort, scene of the crime or deed. You could find this in a Krimi, masculine noun, der Krimi, crime fiction. These are very popular in Germany and are often linked to specific regional settings. I have, for example, a Bodensee Krimi, set by the Bodensee, or what we would call Lake Constance in English. Also a Neckar-Alp Krimi, set in Tübingen, and a Kriminalroman, which is a Krimi, again, set in Einsiedeln, which is Swiss, of course. Here's a tip. Genre fiction can be a great way to approach reading in another language that you're learning, because many of the patterns or conventions are similar to those of the genre in your own language. So you can recognize the arc or curve of what's happening, helps with the reading. And in many cases, though not always, but certainly often the case with crime fiction, the language is fairly transparent, fairly straightforward and plain, as opposed to being obscure or poetic sounding. Why is a crime novel in Italian called a giallo, a yellow? Tell me in the comments if you know. Italian has the word motivo, but that's like a general motive for doing something. If you're talking about the motive for a crime in a giallo, you have the word movente, il movente. Some overlap in meaning, but two different words. Okay, here's another little mini quiz question. Why is a crime novel in French, sometimes, depending on what type, called a polar? That's another one you can comment on below. So we get the word motif from French, as I said, and there it can mean a pattern, a general motive, or with a different nuance, it can mean grounds or cause. So you could say there are motifs for hope. Or with another meaning, that someone was excused on medical grounds, pour motifs médicaux. This is quite different from English usage, so worth bearing in mind. Despite the common look and sound of the word, it's both a true friend and a false friend. What about a criminal motive in French? Here's another slippery potential false friend. The noun le mobile. Le mobile du crime. Aha. Mobile as an adjective means mobile, as in English, and in some cases people will use it to refer to a mobile phone, but for that I learned un portable or un téléphone portable. What did you learn? Or if you speak French as your main language rather than having learned it, what do you call your mobile phone? My point here today is that if you hear le mobile as a noun in the context of crime or crime fiction, it's likely to mean motive. It's probably not referring to a mobile phone. And why not? This might be the time to give a plug to my own crime fiction, Claustrophobia, published some years ago with Transit Lounge. It's not a detective story, but it is a crime fiction. If you like talking about the slipperiness of words between and within languages, or just about language in general, and even about fiction, including crime fiction, please subscribe to my channel Language Learning Life and check out some of my other videos. I'll see you there.